Very good evening and welcome to Power News. I'm Juhi Rajput. In today's episode, we're going to discuss distribution sector reforms key to power sector sustainability. And to discuss the same, we've been joined by Mr. Ashok Lavasa, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Power, Mr. S.N. Verma, Chairman, Jharkhand State Electricity Board, Dr. Pavan Singh, Director Finance, PTC Financial Services. We also have with us Mr. Kuljit Singh, Partner, Ernst & Young. Very good evening and welcome to Power News. Well, Mr. Lavasa, problems in distribution sector have accumulated over the years due to lack of investment, commercial orientation, excessive AT&C losses, and distorted tariff policies. Even after several years of reform process, why we have not been able to achieve the desired result?
When you look at the way the power sector operates, you find that whereas the retail tariff, which is what provides a revenue stream to the distribution sector, that is regulated. But many inputs in the power sector have not been regulated so far. So eventually the cost of all these inputs and services which go into the ultimate delivery of electricity, they go and rest on the distribution company's balance sheet. In the absence of a rationalization of tariff, and the regulators allowing them to recover the actual cost of service, you have a situation where the distribution companies have not been able to make both ends meet in many cases. And that is the reason why the distribution companies have borrowed hugely from the market to sustain their operations. In many cases, the cost of these borrowings have not been allowed to be passed on. So they have also accumulated on the distribution company's side. In addition to this, the reluctance on the part of the distribution companies themselves, sometimes under the influence of the state governments, they have not regularly revised their tariffs.
Well, like you rightly said, that absence of regular tariff revision is one of the main reasons behind poor health of state electricity boards. And SERCs have a very important role to play into it. Due to lack of competency and resources in DISCOMs, even tariff filings are often delayed. Mr. Kuljit Singh, what do you have to say on this?
If you really look at the SEBs, they are inefficient and therefore they are making losses. And therefore now you are in a strange state where the government is trying to address, they are trying to ensure that the inefficiencies get passed on to the end customers. And the way they are trying to do that is by ensuring that tariff increases happen every year. So there is a massive push to have increase in retail tariffs. There is a massive push to have schemes by the government whereby government provides capex support so as to ensure that the capex is undertaken. There are various schemes whereby power purchase adjustment charges and other mechanisms are being proposed whereby the high cost of power is passed on to the end customer. So finally what's going to happen is all these measures are fine because what they do is to temporarily address the cash shortfall that these SEBs are exposed to. But ultimately, someday or the other, government will have to get to the crux of the issue, and the crux of the issue is that you have an entity which is inefficient. So the fundamental thing is government has to someday take charge of ensuring that this entity becomes efficient in every function that it performs. Now historically we have been trying to do that, and there I think the most important thing is the willpower of the state government. Because unfortunately in the Indian context, SEBs as a subject matter are under the direct control of the state government. The central government can of course pass laws, and which they have been doing, and they have been coming up with very, very efficient laws. But those laws have to be implemented on the ground by the states.
I'd like to ask Mr. Verma that, when SEBs are unbundled, there is a lack of financial support to unbundled utilities at the time of transition. Also, it has been seen that adequate financial support is not extended for providing subsidized power. They also face issue on account of frequently changing policies of the state government in regard to subsidies in free power. Do you agree that these are the factors which are responsible for DISCOMs not operating efficiently?
You see, what I feel that right from the beginning we have not imagined the power utilities as an industry. That industry runs on a mantra that is viability. And the viability was not there. if you are investing 1,000 crores and you are not taking out that 1,000 crores or more than that, then that system cannot run. Now we are reviving now. We are phase of turnover, I must say. After Electricity Act 2003, these things have done. And major changes in that is the unbundling also. Unbundled, the utility of transmission, utility of generation, utility of distribution fees that we have to be viable. And the money comes from the distribution only. And that is the mantra today, that distribution sector has to be in profit. If you are investing this much, you must come out with maximum of that, so that you will be giving it to the transmission share and then the generation share. Then only the three industries will exist. When you start unbundling, you start with zero. And then government takes the responsibility. Whatever the losses of that electricity board, it will be taken into account in the form of the bond. The utility will start from zero with some share money. And then they have to perform. So these situations have catered beautifully in the many other states where they have come in the positive, and now they are existing. And you will have to be very practical also at the same time, that suppose power costs you today is 4 or 5 rupees, you will have to have that tariff. As Mr. Lavasa said, the tariff increase as per the market ratio, as per your investment, has to come in every state, and you will have to have that responsibility to do it. It should not have any political intervention, it should not have any other considerations.
Dr. Singh, how much do you think this could be effective in financial and operational turnaround of state DISCOM?
The public perception of power sector is that it is a public good. So, a lot of public does not pay for it, or wants to pay very little, less than the cost of production. So this perception has been there. Now, with this perception, what happens that, the public policy level, when we handle the issues, we tend to play into those thought process. Tend to, for whatever reasons, we tend to play into that. And because of that, though we have very well conceived policies, they really don't get implemented at the ground level. Now, there are two issues here. One is, the health of the distribution company. For example, Delhi. See, Delhi had a BST of 2 rupees 70 paisa in 2005 when they reformed. And their average collection used to be 1 rupee 65 paisa. 2009, when they reduced the AT&C losses to about 13 or 14%, the gap between that had almost followed down. So through efficiency itself, they had been able to break even. Later on, of course, the BST prices went on and the tariff revisions had to happen subsequently. But this is the crux of the matter.
Well, it's time to take a short break here. Keep watching Power News.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
From manufacturing of energy cables to EHV installations to renewable energy solutions to retail energy products, our technology energizes lives. Ravin, energizing lives.
Power Grid Corporation of India, the central transmission utility, world-class integrated global transmission company with dominant leadership in emerging power market, ensuring reliability, safety and economy. Power Grid, building a smarter grid.
Welcome back. You're watching Power News. Well, commercial losses are primarily due to improper energy accounting and billing processes, faulty metering, underbilling, theft and pilferage of energy. Could private participation provide solution?
You have to take SEBs out of state control, and the way you can do that is actually by outsourcing more and more of the activities of the SEBs to private sector entities who are shielded from the direct control of the state government.
You see, it has started in Jharkhand also. I'll say that Jharkhand is in completely turnaround stage, and we have gone for a franchisee for the major towns like Ranchi, Jamshedpur. We have already done, and that has gone to CESC and Tata Power. Both the companies have proved themselves in the other states like Calcutta and Delhi. that you will have to have some system which will not have the direct influence of the government. That's very right, and the franchisees are that model, which has been given by the central government only, and that model has proved worth in many other states also.
Well, before I talk about franchisee, I think one thing which we cannot lose sight of, the question of ownership which Mr. Kuljit Singh raised. First of all, I would say that ownership by itself does not transform any entity. I think it is the business practices, it is the overall character of that entity and its orientation which makes a lot of difference. The Electricity Act and all the policies of the Government of India do encourage maximum involvement of the private sector. Distribution segment, as it was mentioned before, is completely in the domain of the state government. So there the association of private sector has been relatively slow and very low. Now, franchisee model is one such possibility where the private sector can come in, and perhaps it's a soft option because you can either do a PPP or you can do complete privatization or you can do franchisee, you can do outsourcing, but the Government of India does not prescribe one particular method. We say that India is such a vast country, different distribution utilities are operating in different circumstances, and each one of them should have a choice of what menu they opt for.
But privatization of franchisee model have also delivered mixed result, and people fear that if DISCOM is privatized, they would be paying more for the power. In this situation, what should be the way forward according to you?
You see, there are always in such system when you change occurs, it is a human nature that they will not accept it fast. They feel there must be some problem out of it. We are very comfortable, why should we go for that? One side is the utility who is doing it, their employees and their officers. And the other side is the consumer. Consumer feels that tariff may increase. I feel what we have done in Jharkhand is that it should be advertised fully. We popularized it through TV, that why franchisee is needed, what you will get, what you will be benefit out of this. It has gone to the public. It has gone through newspapers. Tariff nahi badhega, no change in tariff, because tariff is the domain of regulatory commission. It is not the franchisee. Franchisee is your contractor. The moment we signed that agreement with the franchisee, there was a lightning strike, whole of the state, and everything was dark. All substations, all switching stations. I talked to them personally 5 times, those unions and those executives. I signed 5,000 letters, same letters, to every employee, that let it be distributed to every employee, that these are the factors which are going to happen, and these are the conditions which will not change. They felt that something going to happen which will not give them any loss, no trippings, 24 hours power you'll get, all such things. And after 2 days, they realized, they came back to the work. This happened in Bihar also. This happened in Kanpur also, in Gwalior also. So you have to manage with it. You have to see ways and means. You will have to find out how to manage people.
Dr. Singh, what would you like to say?
Whether you go for franchising model or you go for PPP model, you must, but bidder must know what are the actual loss levels. He bids for something, and in reality he gets something, then his whole calculation goes for a 6. So that is one very important factor. Second is, what happens is that, in fact, Mr. Verma, they adopted a qualifying requirement whereby they did not allow any Tom, Dick and Harry to bid in Jharkhand, and they only allowed the companies who have some experience in distribution business to be there. Now, many states are going very aggressively on this, and they are highly liberalizing their bid documents, allowing somebody in entertainment business or somebody in even selling of tobacco to be there. So without knowing the business, people chip in, and they subsequently land into trouble. So this could be another reason. Whatever we may say about the power sector, no matter how much we do try to commercialize it, the fact remains that element of public good always will be there, and government will have to be there either by way of financial support, or if it's not financial support, as in case of Delhi, it has to be hand-holding exercise. So the government has to do hand-holding. That they have privatized and then they step back, it will not work.
Well, we'll carry on this discussion, but after this short break, you stay tuned.
Indian Energy Exchange, India's premier power trading platform.
Jal, jal, jal.
जल से जल तक, मेगा वाटर से मेगावाट्स तक, SJVN Limited.
Power Finance Corporation, the most preferred financial institution, providing affordable and competitive products and services with efficient and internationally integrated sourcing. PFC, partnering the reforms in the Indian power sector.
Welcome back. You're watching Power News. Mr. Lavasa, amid rising losses, the Union Power Ministry has formulated a Model State Electricity Distribution Management Responsibility Bill 2013 on the lines of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. How much do you think this could be effective in financial and operational turnaround of state DISCOM?
The state governments which are solely responsible for distribution should have a legislative obligation to perform their functions in the way they are mentioned in the Act. And that is why, as a part of the stipulations under the FRP, the Power Ministry has put together the bill which you just now mentioned. It's a model bill. It has been circulated to the states. And the states which are taking part in the FRP, it is a mandatory condition for them to come out with this legislation. Now, your question, what does it do? It lays down the various responsibilities which the state government has towards the distribution sector by way of a law. So, to that extent, it is open for any citizen to question a state government if it does not abide by the provisions of that Act. Secondly, what it also says is that apart from ensuring that the distribution utilities operate on very sound commercial principles, it casts an obligation on the state government to present the state of the financial health of the DISCOMs before the legislature periodically. And we believe that a presentation of this kind would open the whole subject for public discussion, and it will bring greater transparency. So, to that extent, we feel that this bill will make the state governments more conscientious and more responsible.
Dr. Singh, I'd like to ask you that what could be the consequences if state does not implement this bill in true sense? Can central government penalize them?
As far as the Act goes, it provides for reduction in the whatever power allocation which is going to be there. That's good enough, but not complete kind of an punitive action. What would be required is that some kind of punitive action in terms of allocation from the plan fund. If that could be added to the whole thing, it would make the whole the whole act much more meaningful than what otherwise it would be.
Coming to the bidding guidelines, very few states have come up for power procurement tender. Do you feel the revised bidding guidelines have addressed all the issues concerning states, IPPs and finances?
Case 1 unfortunately has not been finalized as yet, but Case 2 finalization poses a massive, it requires the SEBs to undertake a huge amount of preparatory steps. And if you really check with the SEBs, why should they undertake those steps in the first instance? And if they could, then they would prefer to undertake those projects on their own balance sheets rather than give it out to a private sector. So there is a challenge in the Case 2 projects, and therefore if you really look at the historical evidence to look at the number of Case 2 bids which have come up with vis-a-vis the number of Case 1 bids, Case 2 bids are very, very few and in very, very few states. It's generally Case 1 because Case 1 is very simple. But in Case 1 we have this